Welcome to Complete Edition, the podcast between a PlayStation Trophy Hunter and not an Xbox Achievement Hunter today. This is episode 24. I'm your host, Compulsive Nerd, and my guest today is Sean Mason. I don't know if you do play Xbox, but we're about to learn so much about you. I'm so excited. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing great. It was Monday. We had, back at school today. It was a nice and cold 30-degree day today after being 60 degrees like all of last week. And it's supposed to be 70 this Friday. So, that's Massachusetts for you. That's a Massachusetts spring for you, all right.
That is true. It's same here in Kansas City. It's actually not too bad right now. It's 59. But yeah, the weather has been dropping. It was like 80 like a week ago.
Yep.
And it was so nice. And then it's just like all of a sudden it's like we're back in the 40s and 30s, high 30s, and it's just like where did that come from?
Yeah, it actually started. There was a little bit of snow flurries a little bit during like the school day, and the kids were like, "Whoa, it's snowing out! What's going on?" I'm like, guys, it's snow. You've all seen it before.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But man, I am telling you, I did not game very much this week. I've been busy. I've been looking for a new apartment, and I'm really excited. I went and looked at one. I'm trying to get a 2-bedroom by myself, and I'm gonna like set up a gaming room and like
Ooh.
also a room for my station, my desk, and everything. And I'm so excited, but I'm waiting for that confirmed email. Um,
Yeah, it's
but
exciting stuff. Moving. I love it.
I
Love
do
it.
too. It's stressful, but it's fun. What have you been up to?
I did play a lot of games last week. It's funny. I am a big PlayStation guy, big trophy hunter. It was funny though, but an Xbox game actually had me like compelled last week, and that was Tunic. I was completely like drawn in by Tunic. I absolutely am loving my time with it. I am almost done with all the achievements. I've beaten the game, obviously, but I think I have 2 or 3 achievements left. I can't remember because I didn't get a lot of playing time in this weekend. But yeah, I only have like 2 or 3 achievements left. But yeah, I'm completely enamored with Tunic. That game like completely took me away from everything else. Like I was in the middle of going for the complete for Horizon,
Yep.
and then I was like, you know what? I want to just check out Tunic, and I started Tunic, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this game is so good. The art style is so compelling. Um, I'm playing. I have a notebook next to me just because they speak in like a different. It's like a different language. They don't. I don't know how familiar with it. They don't speak like English, and like the language isn't translated for you like word like right up in front of you. So like you kind of have to decipher it yourself. So I'm like writing things down. It is I'm really, really into the game, and honestly, this is a game that I probably will complete on Xbox. Will be my first ever Xbox completion, and then when it does inevitably come to PlayStation, I'm for sure gonna get the platinum in this game.
That is so cool. Honestly, like that makes me so hyped for it to come to PlayStation. But like I am hearing so much about this game, and it's really cool that you're playing it because I have been fascinated by it. It's something like I've been just like distant this week from video games. I've only played Stardew, but I'm telling you, like I'm in the swing, like ready to get back to things. I never even touched Horizon this week. I just put it down and I'm like,
Wow.
I know. It's just crazy because I'm like so into it. But this week I'm definitely gonna get back into it. And I'm like hunting for the platinum. Like I want this. I need the completion. I'm at this point right now where I've been playing these long games this year. I think I only have 2 games completed in the whole year because I've just been playing these really, really long games. And it's starting to get on my nerves a little bit. It's like I need a completion. Like I have no satisfaction. I'm jumping from game to game. There's so many games coming out. It's like I need to just focus on something and finish it. And then it'll narrow down the games that I'm playing and then I can like focus and start like knocking them out. And so I'm
Mm.
like I need to just focus on Horizon, get it done. And it's not like I'm going to rush through it. I'm going to enjoy it. It's just a situation where I'm like I said, I'm playing Stardew and I swear I have 90 hours in the game and I'm still seasons away, years away, like from in game, from completing the game. And I just played Tales of Arise, which was
So
maybe like
good.
a 75-hour platinum, maybe more. And
Mhm.
so there's just these really long games that I'm playing and I didn't fast travel on Horizon, so I swear I have like 50 hours and am maybe halfway through the story. So it's just like a situation where I'm like, I need to get something done, just something for myself. It'll feel good.
You gotta
But
get one of those short Vita games.
yeah, I should. I should get a short Vita game. But I just want to knock out some of these games. And like I started before the rush cuz I don't know if you remember in like January it was kind of a downtime
Yes,
and
January was that downtime.
it's like I think was it March when it picked up? But
February,
it
because
was
we had
February cuz
Horizon,
Horizon.
Elden Ring, Sifu.
Mhm.
Um,
And like
those were like the big three.
they were, and I have Sifu, and I have Horizon, and I think I'm game sharing with someone who has Elden Ring, so it's like I have all the games, but I'm just focused on Horizon. And then me and you at a later date will definitely be doing a spoiler cast if you're up for it.
Definitely for
Hell
Horizon.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
so excited for that. So excited.
oh,
And
I can't wait
so
till you finish the story.
me too. It's wild out here in Horizon, and I just want to get back to it. It's so awesome. But I was gonna wait till later in the show to do our what we're chasing because I want to learn more about you, Sean, and who you are. So let's kind of start with your history and like where did you begin gaming?
So I was born in 1996. Great year. So I began gaming right away, like kind of like right when I was born. I was kind of born into a family of gamers. My sister's 4 years older than me, and she was already a gamer at the age of 4. My dad's been into games for his entire life, basically. He was born in, well, his entire life with, in existence of games. He was born in 1965, and right away, he did a lot of traveling as a kid because his father wasn't the best guy, but he owned a carnival, kind of like a fair. So all year, my dad would be traveling, and in the summers, he would be in New Jersey on one of those, like like a boardwalk. I'm trying to think what it is. Not the Jersey Shore. There's like another one in Jersey. I can't remember what it is, but there was a bunch of arcades. So, he was 10 to 15 at this time, and he would just constantly be in the arcades. And this is like the middle of the 70s, early 80s. And so, you had some really classic arcade games, and he would just game there and game there. And, eventually, when he got older, he joined the military, and in the military, he was introduced to the NES. And then, after that, he got his own NES and then his SNES, and then he eventually married my mom. They had my sister and they had me, and just growing up, I was just surrounded by games because my dad, to this day, still games. And some of my earliest memories were watching my dad and my sister play, Super Mario Brothers, and then they moved on to the PlayStation, and I remember like watching him play Crash Bandicoot. And actually, the first game I ever completed on my own, 100%, was Crash Bandicoot 2, and I was 4 years old, and it was the year 2000. It was right before Christmas.
That is amazing because I was actually looking through your trophies today because I like to sleuth. And by the way, I did find it.
Oh,
And
you did? Thank
yeah, I
gosh.
did. And so your rarest platinum is from Crash Bandicoot. I don't know if you
Yes.
know that, but it's
Yes.
very, very cool that that ties together with your history. But I relate with
I'm
that.
a big Crash guy. Big Crash guy.
Yeah, and I relate with that a lot. Not Crash specifically, but just man, my first memories are gaming. Like just all the time. And it's weird because like a lot of my family fell off of gaming during that like PS1, actually PS2.
Hmm.
My dad used to play a little bit of PS1 with me, and then he hasn't played anything since PS2 with me. And my brother used to play Super Nintendo and stuff like that, and like that was like that initiation into gaming is like, hey, you get to pass down stuff. Like we're moving on with the next generation stuff, and then you can play the old one in your
Yeah.
room when you're 5 or 6 years old. And it's like I'll play whatever I can get my hands on. So you got the PS2, you're giving me the PS1. You bet your bottom dollar I'm gonna play Tony Hawk. Like
Oh
that's what
yeah.
I'm doing, you know. So it's just such a cool thing. And I wanted to ask how long you've been hunting and like how long you've been interested in completing games. So you talked about Crash, and what was that, PS2?
PS1, Crash Bandicoot 2,
PS1.
PS1. Yeah, it was 2000. So I've always been somewhat of like a completionist in like everything that I do, not just gaming. It started out with just like everything, like doing like homework where my teacher would be like, "All right, here's 10 questions. You guys only have to do 6 of them." I am like, "No, I have to do all 10." Like it was kind of like an OCD thing where I'm like I like to complete things. I like getting things done. So like even as a child, before they had trophies, like anything that was like 100%, I'm a big into like JRPGs, and like there's a lot of optional quests and optional weapons, and that was like such like something that I needed to do. And as a kid, it was just like, no, if you don't beat it 100%, you're not experiencing the whole game. So like, what's the point? Like, I remember I had a neighbor who's like, he would get like, like Mario Sunshine. I remember like Mario Sunshine was big for us as kids because at the time, I'm like 6, 7 years old, playing Mario Sunshine. I remember I got a GameCube, got Sunshine 2 weeks later, and I remember playing it and being like, I have to get all 120 shines. And like, if I don't get all 120 shines, we don't really beat the game. And me and my sister would sit there and grind it out. We got it the day it came out in August. It was like August. It was 2 weeks after my birthday. It was like August 28th, and we played that game for years trying to get all 120. And when kids would ask me, "Hey, you haven't beaten Mario. You're still playing Mario Sunshine?" I'm like, yeah, I'm going for 120. I beat Bowser like 2 years ago, but I need 120. And I mean, now I can get 120 in that game. A couple weeks, maybe probably a couple days if I really like sat down and played it for hours. But like just from an early age, it was all about completing the games 100%. The early Zelda games, I loved doing Link to the Past, uh, the first Final Fantasy games, and those games are hard to complete. I remember playing Final Fantasy 1 in my bedroom during a snowstorm in 2003 on the original NES, and like trying to figure out how to complete the game. Like I gotta figure because there's like optional side quests in the game, but it's so cryptic on how to figure them out because there's no like. And I'm like, I'm not using a guide for this. I need to figure this out on my own. Eventually I succumbed and looked up a guide on how to figure it out. But just from an early age, I was always into completing things.
I get that, and I think you've kind of triggered something in me, and this isn't exactly a completionist because I can't remember if there was any games that I was like 100% on, but Mario kind of kicked that off where it's like I wanted to get to the last world. I wanted to beat that final boss, I wanted to get like complete a game and be like I beat it. It's like that's something I did, and then towards the PS3 generation, I would say, like whenever I became a trophy hunter, like Uncharted was the introduction to like, hey, this is what completing a modern game is like. There's a list of extra things to do, and I was like, in my teens, so I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything to do, and I was like, I don't have money incoming, so I need a way to extend my playtime with this game, and I love it so much that what I did was I just started to hunt, and I was like, I'm gonna complete this game while I wait for other ones. And then I would go to school and I'd see friends and they're like, oh yeah, the second game is out already. And I'm like, what? The second game's out? And it's like, get start talking to people at school who are like, I'll trade you games. You give me that, I'll give you this. And then it's like that just extends the amount of time that I can play games because I'm going to complete the next one that I get. And it was kind of that cycle in high school, but I remember specifically like Mario was the first game that I like beat and I started to go through, and as the years went on, it's like Call of Duty I was completing. But there's something that I wanted to talk to you about because I saw some of your rarest trophies, and that would be sports games.
Oh
How
yeah.
like I love sports. We were talking actually about baseball before this podcast started, but it's like, man, sports games have changed a lot in the years, but I used to play sports games a ton growing up, and I wanted to know like how you felt about that. What you still play? Like what games?
So the only sports games that I currently still play are the MLB The Show games, just because I'm like a huge baseball guy, and I think they're actually high quality games. I gave up on sports games probably 6 years ago maybe. I dabbled in the most recent NBA 2K game I think was like NBA 2K18. I like dabbled in with like when a friend would bring it over. But yeah, sports games as a kid were huge, mostly because my family, in addition to being huge gamers, were big sports fans. So I would always, growing up, I'd play some Madden with my dad, NBA with my dad, NHL with my dad, and yeah, so like it kind of just carried on that way. I used to love playing franchise mode and you know being able to manage all like the statistics of everything and trying to maximize my most talent in the players and like putting handicaps on myself like, hey, I'm gonna I'm going to trade away the franchise quarterback and try to build him up from scratch. I'm going to make an expansion team, even though that might not be an option in the game. I'm going to somehow figure out. I'm going to make my own rules up, get rid of all the players on the team, do like a trade away players, and like have like a protected players list for these other teams, and like take players off their team. So and see how long it would take me to rebuild the franchise. So just doing stuff like that was like something ingrained in me, and I think sports games became huge for me like in the PS3 era. I played a lot of Madden, a lot of 2K in the PS3 era. Unfortunately, here's the thing. Primarily during the PS3 era, a lot of my playtime would be on my dad's account. So I had my own account which I made in like 2008, but for the most part, I played a lot of games on my dad's PSN account. So on my dad's PSN account is where I experienced more of those, first party PlayStation games, more of the hot, like the AAA games. Whereas on my own account, I'd be playing like, a lot more of the multiplayer games, the sports games. So the PS3, so it wasn't really till the PS4 era where I really started like sinking my teeth in on my own account. That is.
Right. And I feel that way with my brother's account. When I was younger and it was his PS3, and this was maybe before trophies cuz there was a couple years there with the PS3 where there was no trophies, but I was
Mm.
still going to like this in town mom and grop shop that would rent out games, and I'd rent games and then play them on my brother's account. And then I would, when I finally like got my own PS3, I made my own account, and that's whenever that's when trophies were active and I started to pay attention. But back to sports games, my brother was the same way, which is actually interesting and something that you triggered it, which is my brother used to be more experimental with video games, where he would play God of War and Prince of Persia and like more, I don't want to say video gamey games, but like
I know what you mean.
things that,
Yeah.
yeah, not things that are sports. But my brother loved to play NCAA and Madden, and that was like our big thing is NCAA. We were big KU fans, we still
Mm.
are, which they're in the final
Final
four right
Four.
now.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's kind of a huge thing here. And like he continued that path. He has gotten every generation since, well, not PS5, but he's been, on PS3 he played sports games, PS2 he played sports games, PS4 he loves FIFA, and he
Ooh.
will pick
Okay.
up sports whenever NCAA comes back. I guarantee he's going to pick that up. But like that's all he plays now. He doesn't play anything else. And I did branch out and I got away from a lot of that stuff. But growing up, just like you said, they had like NCAA on PSP, which was I love to play, and like they had they had it on PS2 and PS3, and I used to play those games. And that's like where all the sports games came from for me was my brother, and then also being like whatever sports season it was, in the college time we're watching KU football and we're like we're going to play the NCAA football game, and then it's MLB time and we're playing the MLB game, and then we're watching KU basketball, and then we're playing KU basketball on the PlayStation, and we're just like always in that season and that mode, and it was like really really fun for us. But I wanted to ask about your approach to hunting and like how you choose when you're going to go and platinum a game, or if you like look games up before you go into them. Like how do you decide what you're going to do with the next game that you play?
So for the most part, here's how I decide if I'm going to really, go for the 100%. Is when I'm playing the game, I'll start the game up. I won't look up the trophies beforehand. Sometimes that comes back to bite me with missable trophies if I decide I'm going to 100% it. But I'll start playing, and after, a couple sessions, or I'll decide, do I really am I really enjoying this game? And if I tell myself, yeah, I'm enjoying it, and then I say, oh my gosh, this is right up, I love this game. This game's awesome. I'll say, you know what? I think I can go for the 100% trophy. I can go for that platinum. At that point, I will look up the trophies and I'll see how difficult the platinum is, and then I'll go from there. And if I'll start going for the plat, and then I'll slowly get there. And then some of the games, I just, it's difficult. I can't do it. And there's a point where I'm saying, I'll come back to this one. There's one game in particular that I have been stuck on one trophy for about 5 years now. That's Batman Arkham Knight. I've been one trophy away from the platinum for 5 years.
5 years. Yeah, I felt that with Assassin's Creed 2. I think it's the longest time in between when I started a game and when I platinumed it. And that was when I'm still like that was maybe part of my obsession. And my obsession now is completion percentage. And
Mm.
I go back and I play games that I don't like. And like that was one of the games that I have never liked. And I've gotten 2 platinums in Assassin's Creed 2. I just like the original more. I never found Ezio charming. I just was like, oh, this is such a crap game, and I never liked it. And then all the feathers and stuff, and I was like, God, why? Why am I doing this? And it was because it was boosting my percentage completion because I only had like
Okay.
14%, only like just the lowest amount. And I never gave it a shot, but I've given it a shot twice and it grew on me. It's not terrible. It's not a terrible game. It's definitely like a lot of people's favorite, and I get it. But I went back and like started to do that, and I will not play Dead Rising. I never finished that one, and I just can't. And I'm like not gonna play two, and they're maybe at like 3 to 5%. But man, I started to like give up games where I'm like I don't like it. I'm not gonna play it anymore. And Destiny was the same way, and there's several. But yeah, I usually do look up games before I go in, and I kind of feel out how it's going to be with the platinum. And I will stop because I did the same thing recently. I stopped House of Ashes because
Mm.
replaying that game over and over and over and not having a guide, not having like a way to figure out how to get some of the trophies, I was like I've played it 5 times and I have to do it 3 more times, and they're like 8-hour playthroughs. And I'm like, I'm gonna lose my mind watching the same cutscenes and the same thing. I just kind of compare it to just watching a movie with just over and over again instead of playing something or seeing a new movie, but back to back to back to back. I just don't think it's very it's very good. And so I just am like I'm going to leave it for Halloween or something, and like I'll go back into it and do another playthrough or two. And then I'll just do that over years.
Yeah, that could be like the slow burn platinum.
It is going to be a slow burn platinum, and it's at like 80 or 90%, so it's almost done, and it doesn't hurt my completion percentage too much, not like the games that I have now, which are like I have 3 games started and they're all like 50%, 14%, like lower. But once I start finishing those games, that completion percentage will pop up, and it'll be really fun and rewarding to see that. But want to ask you, like, what are your top 5 favorite games?
Okay, top 5 favorite games. Here we go. So, do you want me to limit it to one per franchise?
You don't have to.
I think I might just say like my top 5 favorite franchises. Is that all right?
That works.
Yeah.
That's totally
So
works.
number one, without a doubt, is Kingdom Hearts. It's 20th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts 1 when we were recording this as well. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts by far. That game like completely blew my mind when it came out. I could not believe they were combining one of my at the time my favorite video game franchise, Final Fantasy, with Disney. I was like, "What is this?" I was so young at the time where Disney was like I was so in love with it, and they were just combining it with Final Fantasy, and I'm like, "This is wild." And I remember the first time I played Kingdom Hearts, I remember booting it up on the PS2. That game took me 2 years to beat. Now I can beat it in less than 5 hours. But oh my gosh, that franchise is just means so much to me. And I know everyone, bags in the lore of it. They're like, "Oh, it's so complicated." It's really not that complicated if you just, play the games in the correct order and just pay attention a lot. It does require you to pay attention a lot, but yeah, I love 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 Kingdom Hearts so much.
That I could have guessed, because you said part of your history was like loving JRPGs, and then if you also love Disney, it's just a perfect like hybrid, right?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Disney guy anymore. I do watch most of the new releases, but I'm not like total. I'm not one of those adults that are like obsessed with Disney. Like, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I do
Yeah.
know what you mean.
Another one of my favorites is like I said, Final Fantasy. Completely in love with the Final Fantasy series. Before Kingdom Hearts, it was my favorite. Particularly, I'll focus on one game, Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Kind of lump those together. They're two of my favorite games of all time. The remake is so similar but so different at the same time. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, it is. those games completely transformed. Final Fantasy VII, the first time I experienced it actually was not myself playing it. It was watching my dad play it at at an early age, and I didn't know anything about the story, but I always found that turn-based combat, kind of that real-time turn-based. You got to wait for the bar to completely go back up. I found that so like something about it I was so intrigued by as a kid. Managing the inventory, managing the items, trying to the materia system, trying to equip the correct materia to make your characters, as optimal as possible. And then when the remake came out, I was all over that. Absolutely loved it. I got the double platinum in place on PS4 and PS5. Really, really, really enjoyed Final Fantasy VII. Cloud is one of my favorite characters of all time. Like one of my favorite. He's my favorite JRPG video game character of all time, and arguably my top three for characters of all time. I love almost all the characters in the game. My first crush as a kid was not another student in my class. It was actually Tifa, which is hilarious.
That is pretty good.
Um, so yeah, I'll put those games on there. Outside of Final Fantasy, actually going back to Final Fantasy, there's only three mainline Final Fantasy games I really don't like. That's 2, 3, and 12, which is hilarious. But actually, 4, 2, 3, 12, and 8. I'm not a big fan of 8 either.
Whoa, that's controversial. I've heard a lot of
Yeah,
people talk up 8. They love
I,
8.
I hate the combat. The combat, it's so bad. Uh, it's not the combat, the experience system and the level system. Because so what it does is, as you get higher level, and enemies give you less and less experience, and the enemies level up with you. So it's kind of like there's really no point in grinding in the game. And I love grinding in JRPGs, and I don't know. It was a big disappointment for me. Anyways, moving on, we got the Crash Bandicoot series. Oh my god, just so much love for this series. I played all the bad games. So after the Naughty Dog trilogy and Crash Team Racing, best kart racer of all time. Stand down, Mario Kart. Um,
Oh.
yeah, much more technical, much more skill based, and I find the characters and maps much better. Sorry guys, it's just my opinion.
Whoa. Dude,
Just my
Nintendo
opinion.
character's gonna Mario character's gonna come after you.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. I open them with I open my door with arms for them. But yeah, I love Crash. So when Crash 4 was announced and actually came out, I was like, okay, I'm platinum in that. Like I love that game. Took me 112 hours. Got that. And that's a very rare platinum. All those Crash games are pretty rare to complete. I've completed them all multiple times, actually. So like same thing with the Insane trilogy and Crash 4 and Crash Team Racing. I put a boatload of hours in Crash Team Nitro Fueled. That game, I put so many hours in that game. That's one of the games that like brought me back to like online gaming and competitive gaming, like online. I was part of like a Discord community where we like schedule races and do all stuff like that. It was so much fun. Oh, I love that game so much.
That's
But
really
like,
cool. I love Discord.
yeah, I know that was like one of my first experiences with Discord too. I was like, oh, this is a pretty interesting thing. But yeah, Crash 4 is my most difficult platinum. And so it's the one I'm most proud of as well. There's points in that game that just make you want to like turn the game off and never turn it on again. But then when you do complete that, you get that hard trophy like getting all the platinum relics in every level is so difficult. And it when you first see that trophy, you're like, there's no way I can do that. And then when you finally do it, you're like, oh my god. Or another really difficult trophy in that game is completing every level, doing everything in the level, so getting all the boxes and not dying in the level.
Yeah, AJ was the first in the world on Xbox to do that.
Yes, we were talking about that. Yeah.
And it's like, wow, just wow, because like there's those games are already so hard, and then they're like, let's pump it up to make it even harder. Don't
Yeah.
die on a game that literally has checkpoints where you have to get to, because it's like you're gonna die in this section over and over again, and you don't want to restart. So it's like you have to go through the whole level without dying. What even? It's so
Yes.
ridiculous.
Go through the level without dying. And then, oh yeah, by the way, you have to go through the level without dying and get all the boxes. It's like,
Oh
oh my
man.
gosh. So I actually have a text thread saved between me and my sister at the time when we were both playing it, like both going for that trophy, and just the frustration that she would send me these like long messages, these messages of how frustrated with how much she was going to give up, and then eventually she prevailed too, and we both had the platinum in that game. So yeah, it's Kingdom Hearts, Crash, Final Fantasy. A one-off, I'd say Shovel Knight. Absolutely love Shovel Knight. Oh my gosh.
I
Uh,
actually was looking through your trophies, and there are some of your rarest is Shovel Knight also, and I want to play that game really bad. I've never played it. I'm very
oh my
interested.
gosh.
I have a feeling I'll fall in love
Highly
with it.
recommended. Yeah. So I love Shovel Knight. So I bought it on the Wii U when it originally came out because it was originally a Wii U game. I got it on 3DS, PS4, Vita, PS. You get it on, if you buy the PS4 version. But I completed it on. Oh, and I got it on Switch too. One of the rare Switch games I have. I'm not a big Switch guy, but yeah, I completed it on all the consoles I have. Absolutely love it. I love all the DLC that they gave too. Specifically, King Knight like gets a lot of like flack. He's like the last one they did, but they introduced this card game. It's called like Joust. And oh my gosh, I fell in love with this Joust game. I would spend like hours just playing Joust.
I have a question about Shovel Knight and Vita. Is it like an okay place to play it? Because
Oh,
you played it in
yeah, it's right at home on Vita. Right at home.
really.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my next
S-
game. Let's go after Stardew. I'm gonna
Yeah.
play that.
And it's cross save too, so like if you pop a trophy on
Oh,
like Vita, like you can pick it up and just like start right away. You can just upload your save. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
that is cool.
Oh, I was in college. I was a senior in high school when Shovel Knight came out, and I remember just grinding it on like the way to like track meets like on my Vita, just like playing it. This game's awesome. Love it.
That is so cool. That's so exciting. Because I didn't know what I was gonna play next on Vita.
Yeah, Shovel Knight, I highly recommend. I have a Shovel Knight T-shirt that I wore to the LSM meetup, and Colin was like, "Oh wow, that's awesome." Because yeah, he's a huge Shovel. He's a big reason that got me into Shovel Knight because I heard Colin talk about it, and he was like, "Yeah, this game's like awesome." Oh, sweet.
I also have
Um,
heard Colin talk about it, and that's something where I'm like, Colin's good at 2D games, and I don't know how good I am, and so I've been kind of back on it. But I do love 2D games. Like they're just so fun, and
It's
this one,
not as difficult as Mega Man. It's not as difficult as Mega
okay,
Man games. Yeah.
that's good.
So if you've been able to play like Mega Man, fine, you'll be fine with Shovel Knight. All right.
Okay,
The other series that like I really love is the Paper Mario series. Specifically the first three Paper Mario games. Not that I didn't even play the Origami King. I did play Color Splash and Wii U, which wasn't a great experience. Really good music though. The dialogue's awesome. Um, Sticker Star and the 3DS, I don't even want to talk about. But the original three Paper Mario games, specifically the Thousand Year Door, talk about the completionist mindset in that game. Oh my gosh, there's so much extra side content in that game. Like completing, there's like you pick up these things called troubles, and it's like people like submit like a something that's like bothering them or like something they need done, and you have to like complete. I don't know if you're familiar with the game. You have to like complete it, and there are so many, and they're all optional, obviously. And I remember just sitting there, going through that game and doing all the troubles, doing everything 100%, playing through the game multiple times. Like I've beaten the original Paper Mario, the TTYD Thousand Year Door, and Super Paper Mario so many times that I've gone through runs in the game where I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna upgrade my HP. I'm actually gonna downgrade my HP. You start the game with 10 HP. I'm gonna downgrade to 5 HP and see if I can beat it. I can beat the final boss on Thousand Year Door in 3 turns. So it's like it's turn-based combat. It's like three turns just from like doing specific power-ups. Kind of like going into like just certain badge equipment because you equip badges and that will give you certain like upgrades and stuff. It's kind of like the materia system in Final Fantasy. Yeah, Paper Mario,
that's
absolutely.
really cool. I'm
Yeah,
actually kind of jealous of knowing a game inside out like that so well that you can just 3 turn beat a boss. That's like so cool. And then lowering health and like doing things to modify the game to make it more replayable for yourself, which is so cool. But what about your love of baking? Have you ever played like any cooking games or baking games? Because when I was growing up, my sister had a DS and I did not, and I played PSP a lot more during that time. And she had like this game called Cooking Mama, and I loved that game. It was fun. It was ridiculous and fun. But I was curious if you've ever been into like hunting one of those or interested in any of those.
See, I've never played like a specifically like a cooking game. There used to be a Flash game that I used to play. Like I don't know if you remember, familiar with like Burger Tycoon.
I've
Not a
heard of it.
Flash game, but yeah. And there was like a McDonald's version that was on like Addicting Games as a kid. And I used to play that during like study hall, like all the time,
That is
and
so funny.
in class sometimes, which is hilarious because now I'm a teacher. Yeah, which is funny. But not baking games, but fitness games. Oh, we were kids. Dance Dance Revolution. That was that was my family's jam.
I used to
Love
play that
that
at my
game.
Aunt Rita's, for
Yeah,
sure.
me and my sister and my one of my really good friends, Trevor, Dance Dance Revolution Remix 2. Oh my gosh, we still talk about those songs to this day. I actually broke my PSP playing that game because I had me and my friend Trevor, we were like we would switch up. So like I'd be playing like on the mat, someone would be playing on the second mat, and then the third person would be playing like their PSP or the DS handheld while they waited. And I remember I put my PSP on the ground and I was playing on the mat, and I think you can guess what happened.
I'm guessing, and it's hurt breaking my heart.
Yep, totally shattered the screen, and I was devastated. And I remember bringing it up to my dad. He'd be like, "Yeah, Dad, yeah, broke my PSP." He's like, "How'd that happen? How'd you shatter the screen?" Well, we were playing DDR, and I kind of just, put my foot down on it. And he's like, he just
Oh,
looked at me like I was like crazy. L- Luckily, my birthday was a couple weeks away, so I did get another one for my birthday. And he said if I broke that one, then it's the last one I would
that's
ever get.
yeah, that's a parent thing to do. You break that one, that's it. But dude, that sparked a memory in me that makes me so sad. Cuz I was in a situation where curiosity killed the cat for me. I had a PSP and I was taking it apart because I was curious, and I had scratched the screen on like on the strip. So there's like a strip that plugs in, and whenever I turned it back on, like half the screen, the pixels were dead and like destroyed
Oh, that's the worst.
because I didn't understand how fragile screens are, and it just like made me so sad. I like cried and I called a friend and I was like, "Dude, we can't play PSP together. I've destroyed mine." But cuz like that's what we used to do in like middle school. We were like
Oh yeah.
in the auditorium, we would all connect and we'd play Call of Duty against each other in like a LAN party. And it was so cool. So cool to do that. And like then, we'd all actually intentionally get up extremely early and get to like walk to school or like get to school extremely early, and we'd be in the auditorium for like an hour and a half just playing like PSP with each other. It was so cool. It was like such a unique time, I feel like.
Yeah. So like when I was a big track and cross country. I still run a lot today, you know that. But I ran cross country and track in high school and college. Shout out to Marquette Golden Eagles D1. Let's go. Lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Not a big deal though. Next year. Um, sorry. Um, on the bus, I used to play, PSP, DS, eventually 3DS, college, a lot of Vita on the bus, going to and from track meets, and on planes in college specifically, and in big buses. Um, but me and my friends, we used to do a lot of DS on the bus, and for before track meets, like we'd play a lot of Pokemon with each other, or just anything Mario Kart. If there was a PSP Crash Team Racing game, we would have been playing that. But we had to settle for Mario Kart. But yeah, like just memories like that, like so much like handheld gaming, such a big part of our childhoods.
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard last week's episode, but like I'm trying to resist getting a Switch because I just
Yeah, I heard.
can't
Yeah,
believe that MLB 22 is gonna be on there, dude. Is that not like the coolest thing? That's the
I
coolest
mean
thing to me.
that still doesn't entice me to buy this. What would entice me more about Switch is if they got. I mean, I know they have like a bunch of JRPGs that like obscure ones that like PlayStation doesn't have, but PlayStation has so many like JRPGs, even from like the indie scene. And when I say JRPG, I think of JRPG as like a genre. It doesn't have to be developed in Japan because there's so many indie games that are JRPGs that are developed over here in America.
Right. Right, and I know exactly what genre you're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a Switch and I like never play it.
That's what I'm afraid of. I'm so afraid of that.
The only thing, like some games on Switch that I like, absolutely adore, and Octopath Traveler, absolutely adore that game. And now it's on Xbox, so I am actually probably gonna go for the completion on Xbox on that. When I have time. Triangle Strategy, I'm resisting the urge to play it on Switch. I'm still hoping that there's some announcement where like Sony's like, oh yeah, by the way, we got Octopath and Triangle Strategy coming, and a sequel to Octopath. That would be like my dream. Xenoblade Chronicles on Switch as well. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a big one. But for the most part, most JRPGs that appeal to me, I can play on PlayStation, and platformers I can play on PlayStation. And those are like my bread and butter games. That and like action adventure, third person action adventure, which is right up Sony's alley. So, you know, I'm pretty content with playing on PlayStation and Xbox.
Me too. Me too. Whenever I do want to play something on Switch, like I played Hades on Switch, and I played A Night in the Woods on Switch, and I will like dive in. I played a little bit of Zelda, and I just don't like Zelda, and at least Breath of the Wild.
We
But
have that in common.
you know, yes, we do. It's a very mediocre game.
I wouldn't say
Like,
mediocre, but
what would you say?
I think it's a good game, not this like amazing, oh my gosh, this is the greatest game of all time game. But I think it is a good game, not a great Zelda game. I'm a big Zelda fan. Like I love the traditional Zelda. I'm specifically 2D. I like 2D and 3D Zelda, but it is nothing like a traditional 3D Zelda game. Like I wanted the dungeons, or at least if you're gonna do like the shrine system, make the shrines. Don't make 120. Don't make it a collectathon like that. Make fewer shrines, but more dungeon like. And if you don't want to make like a full on dungeon system, make the shrines bigger and larger, kind of like a mini dungeon. That's what
That makes
would have
sense. That's
appealed to me
those
a
are good
lot more.
criticisms.
Yeah. But I do think the game is good. I think that it's much closer to a Ubisoft game, and I think if it wasn't developed by Nintendo and it was a Ubisoft game, people would be saying this is a great Ubisoft game, but it's not like a 10 out of 10 perfect game for me.
Wow. That's what I've always said too. Is like if it wasn't a Nintendo game, like would it have gotten as much traction? And I in my heart I don't believe so. Like if it
Yeah,
wasn't
and
Zelda.
I think that goes for a lot of games developed by Nintendo, Sony, and a lot less Microsoft. But I think those first party games are always gonna get a bump. Like doesn't matter, and like they're just inherently gonna get a bump.
But with Switch, like I said, I've been withholding from buying one because I borrow a friend's, and I just
Mm.
like I have a thing, and I'll support the games. I won't. I'll use his or his account, or I'll buy my own, which is what I did with Hades because I really love that studio, and I think that they deserve my money, and so I'll just borrow his, and it's like I didn't play it for the longest time, and then I gave it back, and it's like if I want to play something on Switch, I can just ask, and he will let me borrow it, and it's like there's no reason for me to buy one. You know what I might even do? I might ask to borrow it to play MLB 22. That'll work.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. All right. That's kind of the end of that. Do you want to talk about what you're playing this week or what you're chasing?
So, like I said, I'm chasing that Tunic completion, that Xbox completion. I know we're the PlayStation guys, but
Right.
talking about Xbox. So I am chasing that Tunic completion. I am still going for that Horizon plat. Still going for that. A big thing for me is Ghostwire Tokyo. I have the game. I played a couple hours of it, and I really do like it. So I think I will go for the platinum on that. I don't know if you're interested in Ghostwire at all.
Yes, please talk about it. I really want to hear this because I don't know anything about it. I don't know.
So
And I don't.
I'm pretty early in. I've only played 4 hours, but it is like one of the most interesting games I have ever played. It is so unique in the stuff that I don't know if it's unique across the board, but it's unique for any game that I've played where I can go through areas and I am like, oh my god, I feel like something's gonna jump out at me and like creep me out and scare me like so and just be terrifying, where then I walk through and nothing happens, and then there's areas where I'm like, all right, I'm safe here, and then all of a sudden something happens and it is so creepy and so eerie. It is a horror game, but at the same time there's areas in the game that are so beautiful and gorgeous and so peaceful and calm that it's like, I don't know how these are in the same game, and this is coming from the same developers who made The Evil Within, which that game was just I don't know, have you ever played The Evil Within?
Oh yes, I love the Evil Within. I
Yeah.
platinum both of them.
So I really liked the first one. I really didn't play the second one at all, but that game was just, like, constantly, like, throwing stuff at you that are just, like, completely spooky and scary. This is like that in some instances, but then in other instances, it's like I said, it's so peaceful and calm. I'm like, how is this the same developer? And it's really cool. The game is gorgeous. The way it feels when you play it is so smooth. I'm really enjoying it. And like I said, but I'm just so many good games out right now that I'm like, I got to get back to this, but I want to do what I've already started first before I get back to it.
I'm thinking about adding it to my list now. I was going to, so I was my plan was before everything happened, it just feels like I was going to go with Horizon, Sifu, Cyberpunk, and now it's like new games are coming out and I might wait, but I'm thinking like finish Horizon, maybe pick up Sifu, and I hear it's not that much that long. It's like 25 hours to platinum or something like that. So it's kind of a shorter one, which would be really nice for me because it's like I've been playing these long games and then jump into Ghostwire and like carry that on. And then whenever I have downtime and there's not new games coming out, like that's whenever I hit Ghostwire Tokyo. That would be like the perfect time.
Yeah, that's what, like, my plan was, like, I'm like, "Alright," so I already bought Elden Ring, I've not played it once, and I'm like, "Alright, this is gonna be my summer game because it's gonna be a long plat, and I don't have to work in the summer because, like I said, I'm a teacher. I have the summer off, and it's one of those games that even if it's really difficult, it's one of those games that you need to consistently play to, because if you take some time off from that game, when you come back, you're gonna be so rusty that it's gonna be like I'm so far in, and like I don't remember how to play, and it's gonna create more time for you to get the plat. So that's what I'm gonna do this summer. That's why I'm putting Elden Ring in the summer for me.
Yeah, and I'm also in the summer. I'm thinking Elden Ring, but it might be more in the later summer, but like not no, not close to fall because that will probably be another time where there's a spike of games. But
Yeah.
yeah, is that all you've been chasing?
So basically, yeah, just Tunic, Horizon. That's basically it. I actually on Vita, I started playing Velocity 2X again because I was actually going through because the Lilymo games, obviously Colin
Yes.
Studio Lilymo. I
Yes.
had gotten the plat on PS4 for like Habroxia 2, and Twin Breaker, and so I decided to boot them up on Vita because it's like a separate platinum. So I platinumed those three games again on Vita, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back to Velocity 2X because I loved that game and I never got the platinum for it. And like I was talking about with one of those games like Elden Ring, if you just boot it up and you like pick up where you left off, you're like, oh my gosh, I am so rusty at this game. So I actually started going back to like the first few levels and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna relearn how to play this game.
Right. That's kind of what you have to do sometimes. And I am also playing I've been playing Vita a lot because Stardew Valley on Vita is much easier in my opinion to platinum, but I'm missing out on a lot more because in on the like PS4 version, I'm playing it on PS5, but the PS4 version, it got the updates. So there's like an extra island, there's like these extra places, there's different fish, there's different items, and it's like when the game has a trophy list and it's like craft all items, sell all the items, you know, do like grow 15 of every crop, and it's like there's extra stuff, and so that like extends the amount of time that I have to play. And so what I did is on Vita, I'm like, I'm just gonna sell all the crops, 15 of the crops there because it's a tied trophy list.
Hmm.
So this week I sold all the crops, 15 of every crop on Vita, and I was not close to doing that on PS5. And then I'm one season away. I'm actually like 8 or 9 days away from selling all of the items in the log. So that took like 3 years to do, and I can't even imagine what it's like on PS4 or PS5. And so I've done like some of that stuff, and I'm sure that I'm gonna keep Stardew on my PS5, and I will see the extra content. It's not like I'm gonna ignore it, but it's like one of these games that I love so very much now that I'm never gonna be done playing it, and I just thought that it would be good to approach because like I'm doing trophies on PS4 or PS5 version, and because you need to have a wife and two children, and you get like a full house trophy, and that is being done currently on my PS5 version, but I'm not doing it on my Vita version because I'm just like I've got all my friends on the Vita version, and then I've got you know just just the wife and the kids focus on that in the PS5 version. So I'm just going back and forth between the two versions, and I'm like, whenever I put time in on this, I'm focused on a trophy here, like on PS5, and then whenever I play on Vita, I'm focused on a trophy here. So I'm constantly making progress on this tied list, but with two different farms, and it's like I said, I love the game so much that it doesn't bother me. And another thing is like they added more creatures to the dungeons. They added, more quests to do and all of this stuff, more recipes to cook. And that's all on the PS5 version, but on the PS Vita version, it's shorter. There's like only like 10 monsters instead of 25, and then the game wants you to like kill thousands of each of them, like not thousands but hundreds of each of the creatures, and it's like how much grinding that's going to be on PS5? A lot. It's going to be a lot of grinding. So it's just like if I can just knock the trophy out on Vita and then I'll see all the monsters. Maybe I won't complete all of the Adventure Guild stuff where they want me to kill all the monsters, but it's like I'll see them all because I'll go into the dungeons and I'll do that. But it'll be much easier on Vita. So I've just been playing that hardcore, and I haven't touched Horizon Forbidden West, and that's like all I've been playing. I've been listening to baseball and playing Vita. That's what I
Nothing
did this
nothing
week.
wrong with that. Yeah. Just going back a little bit. I actually just recently platinumed Deathloop, basically because you kind of sold me on
Yeah.
Deathloop, the way you talked about it and the way we've talked about it, and you really sold me on that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. So um I got it, and like, oh my gosh, I fell so much in love with that game. That game is
Yeah.
like the way, like you were talking about how the way the trophies make you play differently than you would normally play was so true, because like on my first playthrough of it, like my original just run, I would use the same, like the same like everything, the same weapons, the same perks, the same, just everything would be the same. And
Yeah.
then I like you start going for the trophies, and it's like it makes you play differently. Like I never used a silenced weapon before, and then I'm like, this is so crucial to like 3 or 4 trophies. Uh,
Absolutely.
using the different powers that you get. And I was like, this is awesome. And I understand some people have criticisms with it, but I had never played an arcane game before. So like that being my first game, like this is so cool, and I really hope that we get a Deathloop sequel. Like that would be, I know it would be on Xbox, like obviously it'd probably be on, actually you never know, but most likely be on Xbox. But that'd be a game I would go for the 100% achievement on Xbox for. I really really enjoyed my time with that game.
Yeah, that's what I was like trying to tell everyone is like I just think that there's a lot of criticism with the game, and I'm like I can see why it's boring if you're just using that same setup. Like you find out what you love and you just use that all the time, but then the game, like if you're trophy hunting it or achievement hunting it, it's like the game really is like, hey, try this, try to do this. And it's like there's stealth segments where you gotta like get in and kill the boss and like not be seen. And it's like
Hmm.
you didn't play the game that way. You played it loud because that's kind of how like they kind of push you in that direction with all the stuff they give you. And it just totally alters the style and like the levels and the replayability of that. And I was just loving it, loving it. That was like I don't agree with like the 10 out of 10s and all that crazy review scores that it was getting, but I still think it was a really good game
Yeah, I think
from Arcane.
it was fantastic, dude. That one trophy to go to the party, kill the 3 visionaries. I'm not going to spoil their names or anything, but kill the 3 visionaries and get out without being seen. Oh my gosh. I
When
was
you pulled it off,
Yeah, when I pulled it off, I freaked out. I pulled it off once in my game, and I lost power
oh,
right before I was like leaving. I lost power for like 2 seconds, and I turned it on. I was like, "You have got to be kidding me!" Luckily, I booted it up the next day, and on like my third try, I got it. But that feeling when you do it, and that feeling when you get the 3 kills and you just start like my fingers start sweating. I'm like, I have to get out of here without being seen. And then you get invaded by Juliana and you're like, no. I'm like, no, what am I gonna do now? And now I have to go, hack the device to open the door back up without being seen. It was almost impossible, like to get out of there without if Juliana invaded you without being seen because it's just so difficult to avoid her without being seen.
It really was, and she was always the reason why I was, like, afraid, but I like to, like I would go always, like, as high as I could, and I'd get on the roof, and
Oh,
I'd,
that's
like, jump
exactly what I
over it.
did. Yeah, you go on the
It
roof.
was
So like, yeah, the strategy was you get on the roof, you you hide by like the machine, like the meat. One of the trophies was like a meat. It was called like a meat grinder. It was like meat. You use like a
Yes!
meat grinder. Yeah, you go up there, use that. You wait for that one visionary to come out. Use the meat grinder. You kill him. Then you teleport up. Well, everyone's kind of like, "What's going on? Oh my god, is it Colt?"
Yeah.
And then you have to go like, yeah, you stick to the roofs. Stick to the roofs.
Stick to the roofs on that trophy, that is the way to do it, and, like did you use invisibility?
Yeah, I use invisibility and the what I can't remember the name of it. The
Yeah, I use
teleportation
teleport
one.
too!
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's like that's
definitely.
the way to do it. And at
There
first I
is
wasn't using the teleportation one at first. No, I wasn't using invisibility at first. I was trying to use the Nexus that like, connects people's minds. No, that's not
Oh,
Nexus.
yeah.
The one that connects people's minds because
I think
I thought the second kill would be a lot easier doing that. But then I was struggling so hard without the invisibility. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna use the invisibility, and it ended up working out so much better. And those silenced weapons, they come in handy a lot too.
I don't know I don't remember if it was a trophy or not, but I think I tried to combine trophies on that doing that. So I tried to go in there and kill all 3 visionaries without being seen, but then there was also a trophy on that same level for killing all the visionaries without killing anyone else,
Yeah, that was a
and
trophy. You had to go through the whole run with only killing the visionaries.
yes!
Yeah,
And I
that
don't
one
remember if it was
that was
do
difficult.
you remember do you remember if that was the one was it tied to the one where you couldn't be seen?
You could do them. You could stack them together. You obviously could, but I couldn't. I tried to stack them together. I couldn't do it because I couldn't get out of that party without at least killing someone. Because even just getting to the party, like just going towards the party, I had a really hard time getting there without killing someone. I'm like, there's no way I can get there without being seen or killing someone. So I ended up doing them. I ended up doing it twice.
Yeah, I tried to combine them. I was, like, trying my best, and it was such a fun little challenge, and, like, it was so exhilarating when I did it. It was so fun. It was like, "Wow, I just killed everyone there." I just killed all the visionaries, nobody else, didn't get seen, felt like a boss. I was like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's
Yeah,
go." That was such
so
an
much.
exciting trophy too.
Yeah, I'm really hoping we get DLC for that game.
Me too. I really want more. It's really fun. I kept it on my console because I'm like, you can just drop into these levels and have fun. Like it's so, like I can test out the different abilities and try to like, I, I do think it's Nexus. It is Nexus. I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
it
it
is.
has
I
like
think it is. Yeah.
it
That
has the
was the
two diamonds that overlap.
that was the one I used the most throughout the game. I really enjoyed that
Yeah,
one. But some of the
I
powers are
love that one.
insane. Like they're so cool.
Teleporting is like one of my favorite things, and that teleport ability is so well done. I used it all the time. I love it so much.
Especially when you upgrade it to go like further distances and you just zooming around.
Yes,
Oh, it's so
so
much fun.
fast,
Yeah. God,
so
what a good
fun.
game. What a fun game.
I agree. I agree so heavily. I love that game. Play it if you haven't, and hunt it. Hunt it for sure.
Oh, it's
It's
definitely
gonna change your
achievable.
experience.
It
Yeah,
it's difficult, but it's an achievable difficult.
that's very true. All right, that's it for this episode. Do you have any final thoughts?
Did you want to do a trophy or achievement of the week?
Did you bring one?
I did bring one.
I didn't bring one. I'll look one up. You talk about yours because I didn't want to make you choose one if you didn't have one. So
Oh,
I was like,
I have one, and it's that one trophy. I don't have this trophy. It's the one trophy that has been holding me back from the platinum on Batman Arkham Knight for 5 years.
go ahead and talk about it.
It's called Brutality 101. It is only a bronze trophy. I have no idea how because it's the rarest trophy in the game outside the platinum. And you have to do in one consecutive free flow 15 different combat moves without breaking the
Wow.
free flow combo. Yep, and I love the Batman games, but the combat is not one of the things I would say is like like all the different like combos and stuff. I would not say that's a strong suit of the game. You oftentimes just end up mashing, the same couple combos. So this is extremely difficult. I have gotten every trophy in the game. I've done the DLC trophies. I've done the Batmobile challenges that are extra trophies as well. And this trophy has haunted me, like I said, for 5 years. I've watched videos on how to do it. I have done the little they tell you to maybe pause between each combo and like regroup, put your fingers on the buttons that you're gonna use. I've done that. I just can't do it. I honestly can't do it. Batman Arkham Knight has been a constant on my console just because I hop back in and try to do it all the time, and I just can't do it. And it is only a bronze trophy, and this should be a gold because this is
It really should
the
be.
most difficult trophy in the game. It is like I think on yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the second rarest trophy. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like people complain about the Riddler trophies. I'm like, the Riddler trophies are like cake compared to this.
It's true. That is such a hard trophy, and I'm not sure if I have that one, but I have done that in one of the Batman games. I'm pretty sure one of the Batman games had it where you had to like do all the combos
It's in
without breaking.
I'm pretty sure it's in Arkham City as well.
I think I've done that. And I still didn't I don't think I platinumed City. I think that I gave up because of the challenges. They were just so hard. These challenges are ridiculous. Like the challenge mode,
Yeah.
but that is a good one. What I actually am bringing, because I'm so obsessed with Vita right now, and I want to highlight this, is a Lilimo game called Hybraxia 2.
Oh, such a good game.
It is. And the one that I was going to choose was called No Compassion. And it's a trophy for killing all of the lost
Oh my god.
astronauts.
That was one of the
And
last ones I got on the Vita version.
because you never think to do that. And
Oh,
I love that. Because at least for me, I was like, oh man, I have to kill him. I was saving them every time.
I felt bad
And
killing them.
me too. It's not cool. No bueno. And so I thought that was like a pretty funny one. And it has like a 71.43 completion rate on it. So lots of people did it. Lots of people did that.
I feel like maybe a lot of people might do it because like you go through that game, you can just hold down like the shooting button, and just like destroy
Oh, yeah.
everything in your path, and you might have just accidentally destroyed them. But oh,
Absolutely.
those Habroxia games, those are so good. They're such
I love
fun,
them.
and they're the perfect Vita game. Perfect Vita game.
Perfect Vita game. I need to go back and get some of the additional trophies because those were actually some that I considered highlighting, but I haven't gotten them. I
I've
haven't gotten
gotten
like,
I think one of the additional trophies, and I did it by like not by mistake. I just wasn't even like thinking about it, and I accidentally got it. So then like I popped it, and then I opened the trophy list. I'm like, it says I popped the trophy. How come I don't? How come it didn't show up in the list? And then it's like, oh, it's one of the additional ones. Yeah, those games are
yeah,
great, and I cannot wait because Colin was talking about the PS5 version being like an impossible platinum, and I'm like, I have to try this.
I kind of want to try it too. I really love that game. But that's it. Do you have any final thoughts?
I just want to say, thank you so much for having me on. I love this. This is a great podcast. I listen every 2 weeks when you guys release an episode, and uh, it was awesome being on. You guys do a tremendous job. You guys have such good chemistry, and I was just, I'm honored to be on this. Thank you for asking me. I really,
No,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for all your kind words. That's so nice, dude. It motivates me. Actually, like just this episode with you has like made me want to go out and like get this platinum this week on Horizon. Like I want to do this, and it's and I want to. I just I love this show, but yeah, AJ had a complication and he couldn't make it to the show today. So I was like, I reached out to you, and it was very short notice, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I
So
saw
thank
your
you so much.
yeah I saw your message when I was monitoring a study hall because that's what I usually have for like last period, and I was like, just grading some papers. I see a little notification come up, and I'm like, oh, I can definitely do this today. I rearranged a few things. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this.
That is so awesome, and thank you so much. It's been so much fun doing this episode with you.
Oh,
And
well,
I actually got to learn a lot more about you. I spent time with you in Butler, but I never got to talk to you like that. Like I learned so much about you.
oh yeah, and I cannot wait for Richmond.
Me either. It's coming
It's
so
a month
fast.
month away. Month
It
away.
is.
Yeah,
It's a
and
month away.
the week before that, I'll be at PAX East.
Whoa, you're going
Yep.
to PAX East?
Yeah, well, it's only like 20 minutes from my house. I'd never been to a PAX before, so I'm going to PAX East, and I'm pretty pumped to see Maddie again and see Cog and all the Lords of Gaming for Iron Lords. I actually bought a shirt for them because they were doing like some. I don't know if you're familiar with the Iron Lords podcast. They do like it's like Cog and a lot of his friends. They were doing this thing. They were trying to
Right.
get they were trying to get Cog to play Elden Ring and King to play Elden Ring, who's also on the show, and stream it. And they were like, "All right, if we get enough people to buy this shirt, they'll do it." And I ended up buying the shirt, and so did a bunch of other people, and ended up doing it. They ended up making them stream it and play it. It was so funny.
That's so good. That's
Yeah,
so exciting.
so
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
pretty pumped. I have a pretty stacked April because that same week of PAX, that the Monday before PAX, I'm running the marathon, so I'm like pretty pumped.
Whoa, you have a lot going on. Plus, it's opening week of baseball too.
Yeah, so it's the April, like it's like right at so it's April 15th. So that's the opening. April 15th is the last day. Is like we have this weird. Massachusetts does April vacation instead of like March for vacation. So we do
Mm-hmm.
like an April break. So we have that week off. That's like every time. It always coincides with the marathon. So we have that week off. So April 15th is the last day of school. That's Red Sox home opening day. And then the next day, I'm going to the Red Sox game because my brother-in-law got tickets, and for me, my dad, and his dad. So we're going to the Red Sox game that Saturday. Sunday is obviously, my baking cooking day. Like I'll be in heaven.
Yes.
Monday is the marathon, and I'll be like so pumped up for that. I can't wait. It's gonna be my third marathon that I'm running, but I've never ran Boston, and that's always been like a dream of mine to run Boston. So I'm
Oh, that's gonna be
yeah, I'm pretty hyped for it. Hopefully I can PR. I'm like really hoping I can PR. If I do, I'd have to break 258,
wow.
258:48 to be exact. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it because Boston's like one of the more difficult marathons. They have this thing at the end called Heartbreak Hill, and it's like totally uphill,
Whoa.
and it's right at the end
Oh,
too. It's like it's
right when you're peak tired.
yeah. So I don't know how that's gonna be, but then a couple days later, PAC starts. So and then a week after that, that next weekend we'll be in Richmond.
Wow.
Yeah.
Busy April.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I can't wait. I love it. I love April. And then right after April, it's like 6 weeks till the end of the school year.
Amazing. Amazing. It's gonna be such a good April. Let's have a great April.
Oh yeah, I'm pumped.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you to Sean for showing up, and peace and happy hunting. Thank you so much for listening to Complete Edition. If you like the content, consider supporting us on patreon.com/completion club. If you have any questions or would like to reach us, email completionclub@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to Complete Edition.